We have new episodes dropping every other week. You can find them early on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Music, or wherever you find your podcasts, or find the link below for our Megaphone landing page, and we will see you around the campfire. Hey, it's Paul.
Hey, it's Jess.
Welcome to Campfire Ashes. Now pull up a log. Let me tell you a story. I triple dog dare you. Jordan stood in stunned silence at the breach of decorum. There have been several steps before you can go to triple dog dare, and yet there he was, unable to back down from the dare. Brendan leaned on his handlebars of his bike like a mob boss holding court. All the kids were in a circle under the ring of lights at the end of the cul-de-sac. So it's settled. Brendan stroked the handlebar like he was petting an imaginary cat. You'll pedal out to the cemetery outside of the outskirts of town and bike your way into town, up and down the streets where the lights have been out for months. Do you want to get me hit by a car? Relax. It's the middle of the night. No one drives on those roads until morning. It's safe. At least it's safe if she's not out there. The ring of bike riders leaned back in their seats as Brendan went on. Every kid that's ever been born in Abeville knew what he was getting at. The legends were thick, and no one dared challenge their validity. Brendan handed Jordan a bag of colored rocks. Put one of these every few light poles so we can check and make sure that you didn't just chicken out in the middle of the night. Wait, so you aren't coming with me to check this out? His question threw Brendan off guard. His face went a little slack. Jordan could tell the idea of being out after dark scared him just as much, but his false bravado wouldn't let him admit it to the group. He let out a nervous laugh and then puffed his chest out with a plausible excuse to hit. That's just what you want, isn't it? You want us all to get caught sneaking out tonight, so your mom will call your mom, and then she'll call my mom, and then we all get to keep inside, isn't it? And he stuttered. He wagged his finger at him, and you don't get out of a triple dog dare. Jordan was out of breath when he finally got to the cemetery, cursing the entire trip. He managed quietly to sneak out of his window and down the garage roof onto his driveway. He took a beat to collect himself and pulled out the sack of rocks that Brendan gave him. He cleared out some of the dirt in front of the street light that he desperately wished was still working and dropped the bright green rock. Lucky for him, Brendan wasn't the smartest and picked a full moon night for the dare, so despite the late hour, it was kind of easy to see around. His eyes darted around the entire trip. He was constantly scanning the fields as he went along his route. He would pedal as fast as he could, slide to a stop, toss down another colored rock, and then off to his next spot. Looking off to the distance, it was just large hay bales dotting the countryside. One of those bales caught his eye. The moonlight lights up the field, and he could see that the bales were glistening from the humidity in the chill air. But this one was inky black and misshapen. He shook it off and just started pedaling again with a little bit more urgency. He was ready for this night to be over. Another half hour, and he was only a few blocks from town. He dropped one of the last rocks along the side of the road. He looked up in time to see that inky black bounding towards him at an impossible speed. And before he could pedal more than 5 feet, arms reached out, crashing into him and knocking him to the ground. He couldn't move. The arms felt like steel vise, wrapped in black linen. He looked up and saw a gnarled face of a woman inching closer to him. He struggled and struggled, but those arms wouldn't budge. He was helpless. She came closer and opened her mouth wide. An ear-splitting scream echoed through the night. It was so loud his head was ringing in pain. Just as quickly as she was there, she was gone. Her giant form effortlessly bounding away into the field behind a large bale and then was gone. Wide-eyed and disoriented, Jordan got back on his bike. Mechanically, he kept pedaling, throwing down the bag until he was bathed in the artificial street light of the town. He didn't stop until it was in front of his house, beating on the door. The lights turned on, and so after some commotion, his father threw open the door. He fell into his arms crying and screaming about the woman in the field. His dad turned his head and wiped some of the blood out of his ears, and then hugged him again. He sat at the kitchen table, telling his parents what had happened, and while a little concerned, they almost looked understanding. They grew up in Aville too, and after all, the legends were thick, and no one dared challenge the validity.
That lady in the field really said, "We don't want any."
So
Props to listeners.
that lady in the field was hugging Molly.
Hug. That was more like restraining Molly, but okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, some people hug and some people like really hug. We've met those huggers. Like we've met those huggers where they like open with a hug even though they don't know you, and then like that hug goes on for way too long. We
Unfortunately, yeah,
we
I
know
can
those
agree.
people. You know those people.
Everybody
Um,
knows somebody.
yeah. But this is Hug and Molly. This is a story that comes out of Abeville, Alabama, and only Abeville, Alabama. We've done this long enough to know we like when certain stories kind of have roots in other stories. Like we've done like the Chupacabra that also had roots to the Kukui and Headless Horseman and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I know stories that you've had that have like bridged into other things, but like this is unique. It is just here. No one can tell why it's just here. No one can tell it's like, well, this specific thing happened, and that's what happened. It's like, no, we don't know where this story comes from. We just know that it's here, and it's only here.
So weird.
It is weird. But this is Hugging Molly. The legend or the story is that Hugging Molly will show up in the middle of the night if kids are out after dark. And she will grab them, hug them, and then scream into their ear.
Okay,
And
really?
then let them go.
Ma'am, that's how you rupture an eardrum?
Yes. So like to this day, Hugging Molly has not killed anybody and has not hurt anybody other than ringing in her eardrums.
That's so wild.
It is. It's such a weird one, but I was just like, you know what? I could write a story about this.
Yeah, well, like, so where's the first account of Hugging Molly?
So, the first accounts of Hugging Molly go back at least 100 years
Damn.
to the point where in Abeville, Alabama, there's actually a diner called Hugging Molly's, because
Wild.
because they literally just made it. You can go there like today. It's at 129 Kirkland Street, and it's like this old fashioned like diner that like had its soda fountains and ice cream and malts. It's like that literally like 1950s malt shop kind of thing with decorations and
I want to go there.
yeah, I actually kind of
I
want to
love a
go
malt
here.
shop. Yeah, like, I love a malt shop.
Mm.
Love a good milkshake, you know? You should go.
Yeah,
Field trip.
yeah. I don't know. It's just interesting, and part of the food there is dedicated to Hugging Molly. So you can order Molly's fingers, which are chicken fingers with comeback sauce, which is comeback sauce. I don't know what it is, but like they have like pimento cheese, crackers, fried green tomatoes, all that kind of stuff. It's actually kind of neat. Like they offer private events. Like it's a pretty decent place. Vintage movie posters, all this kind of stuff. But it was put together by a person named Tony Rain, which some people attribute to the person. Like Jimmy Rain is one of the founders, and he's the person who opened the restaurant named for the legend. So I guess they're the people that kind of keep up the legend or the holders of the legend kind of thing.
And they decided to make a diner around that.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty neat.
But yeah, so basically, if you live in this town, it's kind of like if you're Hispanic and you grew up, people were like, oh, don't watch it, El Cucuy or El Cucu. They'll get you if you're not if you're being bad. In this, if your mom or dad didn't want you to be after dark, they'd tell you Hugging Molly would get you, and you believed it.
It's so fun because it's like, you know, a lot of places have their own like local legends.
Mm.
And this is kind of like that, but at the same time, it feels like, I don't know, a lot of local legends tend to like borrow off of each other in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know, like usually there's like a catastrophic event or something, or like an inciting incident that happens, and all of a sudden, like all the people in this town are like, oh yeah, like historically this thing happened in the 1800s or the 1600s or whatever, and you know, their spirit can't rest, so it haunts these grounds and all that.
Yeah, but it's usually like a tragedy.
Yeah. But this
Whereas,
town is just like, don't, there's this lady, she'll give you a hug, but she's gonna yell in your ear.
mm, so there is part like one of the versions or one of the stories is somewhat tragic. Basically, it is a woman, and we don't know who it is. We assume a woman named Molly who lost her child and dealt with the tragedy by hugging other kids,
Oh,
which is really sad. And then you have another of a college professor that was always worried about children and would try to kind of like yell at them to get home after dark to make sure that like they stayed safe.
they're
So
safe.
when you
Yeah.
combine those two people, you get what hugging Molly becomes, which is this thing that hugs you and screams at you and screams into your ear.
Because she just wants you to get home safe.
Yeah, kind of.
Albeit with maybe tinnitus, but
Yeah.
at least you're home.
So this figure is described as a large, and I mean large woman, as tall as 7 feet,
Oh,
wears
wow.
dark clothing and a wide brimmed hat. So that's why in my story she was like confused for a hay bale because like she was that big.
Yeah. You said wide brimmed hat and dark figure, and I went back to the hat man.
I mean, kind of, yeah.
Can't escape
I
it.
can see that.
Can't escape it.
I can see that.
Can't escape the hat man.
Yeah, right. So like if you go to Hugging Molly's, right on their website they talk about the legend of Hugging Molly. Like it's right there on their thing. But again, there is no real like thing. There's no real like record of a woman named Molly losing her children. There's no real record of this supposed teacher that was screaming at kids. It's like it's all just like, oh, I heard from a person, from a person, from a person.
And
And
it just became local lore.
yeah. Yeah, it just became local lore and no one really denies it. Like no one denies it. No one really like fills in any of the blanks. Nobody's like, oh, well, nobody did research on it. It was literally like, this is
This
the
makes
story.
sense.
Yes, this is the story. This makes sense. We accept it on face value.
Yeah, you're like, yeah, why not? Well, I can't disprove it.
Basically, yeah, it's basically it's like, well, we can't disprove it, so like we're just not gonna.
It makes me wonder if like a bunch of kids just came home complaining about this and then like went to like their parents took them to the doctors and it's like, yeah, well, look at that. They do have some hearing loss. You know?
Mm,
It's really neat. But that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like a lot of places that have like local folklore like that, there is like a record somewhere of something that you're like, yeah, this could be a legitimate thing. Like that, you know? Like you can trace it back to somewhere, but this is just like an entire town that's like, this is a thing, and anybody that doesn't believe us is wrong,
mm,
and we are gaslight, gatekeep, girl bossing our way through this.
kind of, yeah. But yeah,
Hugging
no.
Molly exists.
But this goes back, like I said, this goes back easily 100, 200 years to this particular town's culture, and the people that coined the thing were the the Rains, the Jimmy and Tommy Rains, and all that kind of stuff. Because basically, the local Sun was like, "Hey, my friend Tom Murphy, his father was growing up, and he knows what this guy is. He knows what this person is, and he told me, and I'm telling you, and that's what this is." And it's like everybody who lives in that town is like, "Oh yeah, we know Huggin' Molly," and it's like, but no one can tell you really like where it came from. Like it's basically one of two things. It's either this woman who lost her child and is looking for another, or it's this Southeast Alabama agricultural school professor that just yells at kids. Like those are it. Those are your two options on where Hugging Molly came from.
Wild.
But it's interesting. So the town itself is described as stuck in the 50s, and that's why the Hugging Molly's
Yeah.
malt shop is such a big thing. It's a retirement community. Literally a third of the population is over 65.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just kind of interesting. Like, so basically the town's been around forever.
Oh wow. And they just decided the 1950s were their vibe. They're keeping that up. I hope they just mean like aesthetically
Mm-hmm.
and not like morally.
Yeah,
That would suck.
you kind of hope.
That would suck.
But yeah, some people do think that it might have been a witch. Some people do think that like
Giving banshee.
yeah, kind of.
The wailing is giving banshee.
Kind of, but I mean, there's no real like we can point to this thing.
Yeah, there's no like, definitive piece.
Yeah, everything that we've done so far has like you can very clearly like trace it to something, or trace it to this thing or this legend that's been around forever. So like it's kind of interesting that this particular one is like nope, just one of these two things. One of these were sure happened, and as a result, since like 1819, hugging Molly's been a thing.
And you can't disprove it.
Yeah, and you can't disprove it, and therefore it's real. But I thought it was neat. I thought it was neat that it was like it's such a weird, benign cryptid, where it's just
that's
like
another thing that's really cool about that. Like you think, I don't know, you think most of the time when you hear stuff like this that it would be like, oh, you know, watch out for this entity because they're gonna kill you or they're gonna get you or like, you know, something bad. But like with this, it's just like, oh, watch out, she might scream in your ear.
Yeah, like to me that doesn't feel like a deterrent as a kid.
It's like, okay, and
it doesn't feel like a deterrent.
What?
Yeah, so basically I need to get home early or else this girl's going to yell at me. Okay.
I mean, as a kid, even now as an adult, but a lot worse as a kid. I hated confrontation, so I mean, like that probably worked for me.
I was
like, oh my god, someone's gonna yell at me. No, thank you.
I was a dumb kid that had a friend who really, really did dumb stuff. So like this would not have deterred me at all. Like there are several times when I was a kid that I should have died from like
I love that for you.
Yeah, like really just dumb stuff where like I'm one of those people that like actually almost died to quicksand and quick mud because I was just like, let's go play in the swamp. And then let's jump from tuft of grass to tuft of grass while it's low tide, and then you miss some of those tufts of grass, and then you're up to your waist and slowly sinking into mud, and no one knows where you're at, and they have to pull you out, and you lose like both of your shoes because the suction is so tough, and then you're going to die. And then it's just like, hey, let's go play on these very rusted refinery towers that clearly can't hold your weight under the rusted stairs that you were just like running up. Yeah, perfectly fine. Yeah, hugging Molly would have done nothing to me as a kid.
See, all right, so I was one of those kids that had a fear of the dark. I still have a fear of the dark. Not as bad, but definitely worse as a kid. And I also was watching like Cold Case Files and Unsolved Mysteries and things at probably way too young of an age.
Unsolved Mysteries was like the greatest thing in the world. I loved Unsolved Mysteries. Yeah, then he would always walk out of the fog and like, oh, what are you going to tell us now?
But anyway, so yeah, watching that stuff as a kid, like, sun started going down and I was like, well, I'm going to go home where everything is safe. And no one can bother me. You guys go ahead and do dumb stuff. I will not be joining you. Don't die. See you tomorrow if you live.
Yeah, no.
Like that was me as a neighborhood kid.
I was that kid who was just like, Mary Poppins can fly with an umbrella. Let's see if we can do that. And then my friend would jump off with a regular size umbrella, and of course it didn't go, but like it looked like there was just enough like buoyancy there for half a second. I'm like, so what we need is just a bigger umbrella. So let's go get the patio umbrella and go do it again. And then it almost kind of works. And then it
I see
almost
the
kind
thought
of works
process.
because, like, for a second there, you actually are floating, and then you fall off fall off the umbrella, and it doesn't go well, and you just don't try it again. But yeah, no, I was a stupid kid. I was a stupid kid, and that turned me into a very, very pragmatic adult that doesn't do anything other than like create a podcast where we talk about the most horrific things in the entire world that may kill us in the dark.
Oh my gosh. I, as a kid, was just like too afraid to do a lot of things. And that has carried over into my adult life. I'm trying to be better about it now, but it was because I had that overactive imagination that made me too afraid to do things because I was like, "Oh my god, things exist." That other people are like, "Nah, they probably don't." And I'm like, "No, nah, that's real." And I have a fear of it and I don't want to deal with it. I'm still alive as an adult. So,
So I mean, I guess it kind of worked.
yeah, it could be worse.
Yeah, no, like
I
again,
just don't leave my house tonight.
I was a dumb kid that looked back and was just like, oh, yeah, no, I should be dead 8 times over. So if I'm a cat, I've only got one left. I'm going to cling to this shit like like it's gold. Like I am
Oh
not.
my god.
It is not going
You
to
know,
happen.
I've been sitting here like trying to think back of like, did I do anything stupid as a kid that's like, no, I shouldn't have survived that. I got nothing.
I did
Guess it.
so much. I did so much dumb shit.
I guess I was pretty lame.
But see, that's the thing. It's
I'm
like
not
you're
mad
not
about it. I'm
lame.
alive.
You're not lame. You weren't stupid. That's that's not
Well, I
lame.
wouldn't say I wasn't stupid, but I wasn't stupid and dangerous.
You didn't go around looking for quicksand.
No, I did go around looking for snakes once.
Which in Pennsylvania is a little bit more dangerous because you do have poisonous snakes.
I didn't find any, but I was looking for snakes.
Like in New Jersey, you have to go to a very specific part of the state to find poisonous snakes. Like
Yeah,
you
no, we
just
got
can't just
rattlers.
yeah, you can't just we have rattlesnakes too, but they're timber rattlesnakes, and you must be in a very specific part of the Pine Barrens to find them. So
Yeah, no,
like,
they could just exist.
yeah, no,
They could exist
no,
in my backyard right now
no,
if I wanted to.
these are timber rattlesnakes. They literally only live in the Pine Barrens for us. I mean, they
Yeah.
live other parts of the country, but like in New Jersey, they only live in the Pine Barrens.
Well, so guess what we had in our yard a couple weeks ago when I was not here? So,
A rattlesnake?
no. So completely unrelated, but back to like I went looking for things.
Not
Um,
deer.
no. So, since we've lived here, there's this sign up the road that says turtle crossing, and you have to cross over a bridge to get to my house. A little one, like a little man-made one.
Mhm.
And since we moved in, I've been like, oh my god, turtles. I love turtles. I would love to see a turtle. Have not seen one. Am
Giant
upset about
snapping turtle.
it. I wasn't home, and Tom was coming home from the grocery store and saw, something scuttle across the driveway. And he's like, what the hell was that? And it's a fucking snapping turtle.
Yeah,
In our yard.
those things are not fun.
Yeah.
Those are not
So he
nice
sent me a
turtles.
picture of it, and he's like, hey, I finally found the turtles they're talking about. And I'm like, damn it, I thought they meant fun turtles, not I'm gonna kill you turtles.
Yeah, those snapping turtles are aggressive.
Those things are fucking vicious.
Yeah. Yeah,
But anyway,
I did so much dumb
that's the
shit.
dumb thing that I would look for. That's the one dumb thing I probably would have done as a kid. Like,
Mm.
it has nothing to do with nighttime, so like hugging Molly would not have deterred me from doing it.
Well, yeah,
But
that's
like,
the same thing. The same thing. It's like Huggy Molly wouldn't have done that for me. But again, yeah, like I knew not to like run around in the dark. So like I didn't. That's where like hugging Molly also wouldn't be a deterrent for me because like I didn't do that until I was an adult, and then all my friends were just like, "Let's go ghost hunting," and then
and you're like, no, I choose life.
No, I did it like once or twice, and then it was just like, hey, all of that stuff that you're looking for, I found it. I refuse to go again. It's like, why not? It's like, because it's only finding me. It's not finding you.
Exactly.
So that
That's the
makes
thing when
me,
you're like susceptible to that stuff.
yeah, it's like that makes
It
me
targets
feel
you.
like they want me and they don't want you, and I'd much rather not end up the first person to die in a horror movie.
Same.
because I'm a minority and I'm the voice of reason. My days are numbered in a horror movie.
Yeah. I think I'm, as far as voice of reason, yeah, my days are numbered in a horror movie.
Yeah, but I would still go for before you.
Valid.
You would be the one like, hey, Paul died. We should go. And then you're the next one to die.
Or I'd be the one that's like, hey guys, haven't seen Paul in a while. That's sus.
That's sus.
And then I die.
Because then you'd get separated. Because
Exactly.
they'd go looking for him, and while you would stay back to like chill and like wait for everybody to come back, and that's when they'd get you.
Or if, it wasn't a spirit, but it was like a killer and it was somebody in the group, I would know too much, so they would take me out.
Yeah. But if you're
This
ever
derailed.
but if you're ever in Abeville, hugging Molly is always that's another thing that's interesting about this also. There's no depiction that varies. She is a 7-foot tall woman dressed in dark clothes and a wide brim hat. Like that's it. Like there's never like she's this size or that she's this size or she's an apparition. No, she is very specific, and it is always this thing. She's always a 7-foot tall woman dressed in dark clothes or black clothes with a wide brim hat that hugs you and screams at you. There is no variation of this, which is also really interesting because there's always seems to be variation in the things.
Or like different interpretations.
Yes, different interpretations.
Wow.
So like it's interesting that there is one interpretation. You might get like one of two interpretations on where she came from, but the interpretation of her is it. That's all you get. So that's why I was just like, this was such an interesting one to do, because we've never had one where like, well, I heard this or I heard this. It's like, nope, you didn't. We all heard this one story. We've all heard this only one story, and that's it. We are not going to question it. We're not going to embellish it. That's all we got. And everybody in Abeville is like, yeah, gotcha.
Where is this town in relation to like Birmingham or like other like notable places in Alabama?
That's a good question. Let me look that up right now, because I don't know.
I have a friend who lives in Alabama, so she's probably listening to this like, I could go there.
She could. It is in the extreme south. So if you lived in, the nearest town to it is actually Tallahassee, Florida.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know how large Dothan is. Dothan, Alabama is, but as far as like looking at the map, it is equal parts away from Tallahassee, Florida, or Montgomery, Alabama. Birmingham Birmingham looks hours away.
Okay.
Like hours away to the south.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
Where did you come across this?
I was just looking for new stuff, and then like this one caught my eye. I was like, I want to do something in the south. And they were just like, you should look at this one. I'm like, really? So if you look at Abeville is another one that like has really like looked and kind of embraced their culture. So like I said, this town has been around since 1819, but it was established in 1823. And if you go to Abeville, like the entrance sign, like welcome to Abeville, is literally welcome to Abeville, home of Hug and Molly. And it is literally a child running away with a giant woman chasing her.
Wow.
Like, I kid you not. That is their sign. Home of Hug and Molly with a giant woman chasing a child. Like,
they embraced it.
It's so funny. It's just so weird that like, yeah, no, this is what it is.
An entire town is like, you can't tell us shit about Hug and Molly.
Yeah.
That's our town mascot.
Yep, it is our town mascot. We might have made it up. Someone made it up, but like one person made it up, and we have never, ever
questioned
denied.
It.
Yeah, we haven't questioned it for 200 years at this point.
Damn.
Yeah, 1823. So yeah, it's been around for it's celebrating 200 years this year.
You roll up to that diner and they're like, "What you know about hugging Molly?"
Yeah, it's like I actually
Let
know
me
a
put you
lot. I
on
did
to
a
this.
I did a podcast of.
They're like, "Let me put you on to this," and you're like, "Hold on, hold on. I know.
Mm-hmm.
I did my research."
Yeah. So Abeville, Alabama. We put some shine on you. There you go. We get some stuff from Hug and Molly there. I just thought it was an interesting one. I just wanted to do that one. I
Not
wanted.
sponsored, by the way.
Yeah, not sponsored. We're not sponsored by the Abeville Tourist Association in any way.
But if I happened to find myself down there and you wanted to give me a free milkshake, I wouldn't say no.
I mean, neither would I. But yeah, I just thought it was. I thought it was a fun one. I wanted to do one where I didn't kill anybody, and because I get yelled. Tim yells at me all the time because that I murder too many people in my stories. So it's just like I want to do one that where nobody dies.
Yeah, well, compared to my next one, this is a cute little palate cleanser. There's your warning.
There's your warning for next episode. Yeah, there you go.
Cute little palate cleanser.
Yep, Jess is going to murder some people.
It's not me. It's the story.
It's the story that you wrote.
Details.
So yeah, guys, if you were ever very specifically in Abeville, Alabama, don't walk around at night with your children unless you want them to have tinnitus, because Hug and Molly could be lurking around a very large corner because it's a 7-foot tall woman, some described as large as a hay bale, and she could grab your child and yell into her ear, and then let go and walk away. Because that's things that people do.
I mean, hey, if you're a childless adult like us, you can go walking around tonight. Just gonna leave you alone.
True. There you go. Go have a conversation with Hug and Molly.
That's so sad. We didn't know about her until too late in our lives to ever meet her.
Oh, I would have done dumb shit. If I was a kid and I knew about this, I'd be like, we need to go.
Mom, Dad, can we take a family road trip to this place in Alabama? No reason.
Yeah, no reason. And then I would have been fine because it's Hug and Molly, and Hug and Molly was only going to scream at me. And then I would have died to the Klan because I forgot that I was Hispanic.
That's not funny.
It's not funny, but it's true.
It's not funny. I'm laughing because I'm uncomfortable. I mean, I would have because I'm a woman.
Yeah, but they're going to kill you because the Klan doesn't just murder women.
Oh, I don't mean them. I just meant being in the South.
Yeah, different reasons that you'd be in trouble.
We're terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, this took a turn. We'll catch you next time. And remember, last one out douses the fire. If you heard something, no you didn't. If you're here with us next time, it means you made it through the morning.